Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson. Today, I have Elke Siller Macartney joining me today from Anacortes, Washington. She is an aura seer, and we're going to be talking all about the human aura and what it tells us, what we can learn from it, and what she can tell us about ourselves. So our author, Elke Siller Macartney, is a wise woman for our rapidly changing times. A lifelong aura seer and gifted healer, she empowers her students and clients with spiritual tools and wisdom to navigate the spiritual life in a practical and fun way. Her education includes teachings from wisdom teachers and shamans from around the world and her own experiences as an aura seer. You never know what she's going to do in her classes and sessions. Sing, drum, dance, guide you in a meditation, and her unique aura portrait sessions provide an insight into your soul's colors and purpose. And I recommend all of it. Elke, welcome to the show.
Why, thank you.
So glad to
You
have
look
you.
beautiful. You look absolutely beautiful. Aura-wise, every-wise, quarantine hair. How do you do it?
Thank you, Elke.
Must be your aura.
I've learned a lot and a lot from you. Must have been that Epsom salt bath I took before the show, right? I
Yes.
just completely lost track of time in, by the way.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate
Welcome.
that update with my aura. So why don't you go ahead and start by sharing with the audience who you are and about your gifts.
Oh, who am I anyway? Well, just recently I adopted the role and the title of wise woman, and it's not necessarily coming from a pompous place, not at all, because wisdom really is derived from experience. And now I've had 64 years worth of experience on this crazy planet. Um, but it's a strange and lovely, lovely journey to do what I get to do on a daily basis. And I feel very, very blessed. Mainly, as an aura seer, a seer of the energy fields around people all the time, 24/7. Uh, that's taught me a lot. It's taught me as much as being a mom or a wife or a sister or a daughter or just the crazy neighbor next door. Um, because I see auras all the time. This is a 24/7 operation. I don't know how I do it, frankly.
I don't either, because when I tap in, it's great, but I could not even imagine walking through life, on a daily basis, just seeing actually, maybe I could imagine, because I think it'd be awesome, but all of these colors and then how they bump into each other and interplay with each other and, what's
Yeah.
going on under the surface, that when that part of myself is turned off and I'm not in a session, I just read the energy, pick up
Yes.
on those subtleties, right?
Yeah.
So you're seeing the subtleties in color.
I am. When I was a little kid, before 6 years old, about that much, I saw these beautiful and maybe not so beautiful colors flying around people all the time. I mean, it was a non-issue because I thought everybody did. I saw entities and I saw spirits and angels, and I had a friend who was an angel. And again, this was my life. I thought that fairy tales were written about my friends. And then come to find out that this was probably my imagination. You know, I mean, this is what we do to children. We categorize what they're perceiving, or this is what we can do, other than just letting them be and letting them develop. So the aura sight or the colors went away for quite some time, until I was 21 years old. And I was half asleep and I was like this, watching my then husband, my very first husband, sleeping. And he was really cute. And I'm watching him sleep. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, far out. Like, he's so cute and I'm in love, and look at that glow around him. And I thought, what? Like, what? Hold on. And I sat up, and there was this beautiful mist all around him. And I thought, okay, calm down. I know, it's endorphins. It's endorphins, and the endorphins are doing something to my optic nerve. I was studying psychology at the time, and I loved brain science and all that stuff. And I forgot all about my sight, that I had as a kid. So I went to sleep with the knowledge that, hey, this is going to go away. It's the love thing. But no, nope. There he was, glowing the next day, and so was everybody else on the University of Florida campus that I was a student at. And the first few days were pretty crazy making, frankly. Maybe even the first few months. I literally thought I was crashing into people, because the mist that was around them was out quite a ways. I mean, it wasn't just this little outline, and it had shapes and colors. And I just happened to know that that person over there has kidney cancer, and that person over there seems to be in love with that person here, but they're probably going to get divorced. And I mean, just crazy stuff. The auras were talking to me, not in any voice, but I just had this connection with the field, with what I was perceiving. Fortunately, several months after, I thought, okay, I need to see a psychiatrist. I need what? What do I need? I decided to go to a professor of mine at the time. He was a physics professor, and he taught this very strange class that I managed to get into. Only a few people were allowed into this class. And it was called Consciousness. Is there a ghost in the machine? Like, what? So I had a feeling he would know something and maybe could advise me or tell me to get psychiatric help, or maybe he knew what in the world was going on with me. Oh, and by the way, I had also called my mom. That's right. I called my mom, and she told me, you're seeing auras. And I said, great, but what do I do with it? Right? So anyway, I knocked on this guy's door, Dr. Rosenshine, and he said, this is wonderful. I said, it is? No, it's not, And so he developed some great experiments for me. He developed, he just helped me to get a clue as to what I could possibly do with this. And I was off to the races. I studied psychology. I went to graduate school in psychology. I was an admissions counselor for several universities for a few years. And it was uncanny. People came to me not knowing what they wanted to study, but I knew exactly, almost exactly, what program they should sign up for, because it would match their energy. And then people kept coming into my office, my admissions office, asking me all kinds of personal questions and stuff. And I decided, all right, I'm just going to become a straight out therapist. Well, as straight as I'm going to be. And again, people were saying, okay, are you reading my mind or something? Because this is kind of spooky, the stuff that you know. But you seem to be very non-judgmental about these things that you know. And I realized that, well, maybe I should come out of the spiritual closet and explain to them that I know these things because their aura is projecting this at me. So that started the whole business of becoming a healer and a teacher and a guide for lots and lots of people. I'm also very, very lucky that I got to study with several shamans from around the world. They would just waltz into my life. I would happen to have some time available. They would see that I saw stuff and want to teach me about that. So I have a lot of tools as to how to manage this gift, because it's any of you, yourself included, young lady, any of us who are sensitive to energies, is something to be wrangled. It's something to be managed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, well, I would either not be here, as in on the planet, or I would be heavily medicated. I don't know. Who's to say? I feel very, very fortunate that I'm somewhat sane.
That's awesome. So you described as in bumping into these auras. So are they palpable to you with your clairsentience?
Oh, in other words, do I feel
Mhm.
auras as well as see them?
Yeah.
Yes. But how? I mean, if your next question is going to be, I mean, this is what I would ask: is like, wait, but isn't it too much? And how do you sort it all out, or even drive?
Mm-hmm.
And I drive. I go into crowds. I'm just fine in the safe way. And so, what I was taught was to ask myself a very important question. And it's just something that's just kind of an automatic thing. It's like an automatic filter, and that is this any of my business?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you're walking down a crowded sidewalk, you're not noticing every single person's, colorful tie or shoes, or that they're grouchy or they're happy or whatever. But once in a while, something pops out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happens for me. And even then, I ask the question, hey, Elke, honey, is that any of your business? In a way, is it mine? Is it mine to pay attention to? Because the answer, about 98.2% of the time, is no.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not mine. But I do know, with experience, because now, since I was 21 and I'm, let's see, do the math, I'm 43 years now into seeing auras as an adult. I've gotten used to filtering it out. Although I have to say that there are times when it's a little more difficult than others. And now is kind of one of those times, to be very weirdly honest. I mean, here we are separating in our little boxes. Hi. And yet, I almost feel like I'm getting more input than ever. And so I have to ask that very important question over and over again. Is this mine? Like, is this even my energy? Is this mine to pay attention to? Are these feelings coming from me, or is it ambient in the air? So one of the things I've been telling a lot of my pals and clients and allies is, the baseline that you're coming from as an empath is the baseline of this ambient energy that we are all making a contribution to as we deal with what I call the situation. And I'm talking, of course, about the COVID-19 situation and the quarantine, and now the protests and the speaking out, and the anger, the sadness, the lots of big emotions. It's ambient. It's poured into the consciousness of the planet, and so it doesn't even matter where you live. You're going to feel it, especially if you're an empath, and you're going to see things in your mind if you're a clairvoyant, or you're going to know certain things, if you are at all psychic or intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I agree.
quite something to deal with.
Yeah, and it is very much there, and kind of has taught me during this quarantine time that our aura, our energy is a huge receptor
Yes, it is.
for everything, because I can be sitting
Oh,
here,
yeah.
a friend pops in my head and I shoot her a text and she's like, oh my gosh, you witchy woman, I'm having a bad day. How did you know?
You witchy woman.
Stuff like that. It's real, and I
It is.
feel like sometimes the only time I can get, I'm like, okay, who's developed that egg that we can crawl into and shut the lid so this doesn't pick up everything remotely? Because we really are like antennas, just pulling in everything, even if we don't realize it. So how do we work with that energy and differentiate between what is ours and what is out there? And then part two of the question, how do we protect ourselves from that, disengage from it, and kind of put it outside of ourselves?
Yeah, because I think every once in a while, or maybe even more than once in a while, we're going to need extra help and extra protection of a sort, a protection from us getting so engaged with what we're feeling and perceiving that it's distracting and we can't get anything done and we can't think straight. Well, one of the things you need to remember is, we all need to remember is, we're not just receivers, okay? Like right now, I'm talking and I'm broadcasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're broadcasters as well. We can beam out energy, and we do all the time, whether you know it or not.
Yeah,
So
most of the time
really,
unconsciously.
oh, it is. It's a constant thing. That's not something you'll ever turn off. Now, whether uh, others pick up on it or not, well, that's up to the receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. However, everybody on the planet, I don't care who you are or whether you think you're psychic or intuitive or absolutely straight out not, um, you're picking up on stuff all the time, all the time. And that's why we make assumptions based on what we're getting. And I could say, hey, the sky is black today, and you hear the sky is white today. I mean, depending on how we're perceiving, what our filters are filtering. Because here's the other thing about an aura: you are literally seeing through or perceiving through your aura. So there are several layers between me and you and me. So if we were sitting in the same room together, you are perceiving through your aura, and more than likely our auras will be merged because you have a pretty big aura. I don't know what size mine is, but it's probably
Pretty big.
all over the place. Anyway, and I'm perceiving through mine and you're perceiving through yours. Which is why I also answer the question, hey, do you see your own aura? I don't see my own aura, because what I'm doing is I'm seeing through it. Anyway, again, depending on where your mind is at, where your attitude is at, are you having a funky moment or a lousy moment, or are you centered? Are you feeling at peace? Are you feeling like yourself? Will absolutely make a difference as to what you perceive and how you're going to perceive it. So, to answer your question about, was it protection or filtering, or what was the second part?
Yes and yes. So differentiating between, mine and not mine, and then maybe kind of blocking or shielding against, or
Okay.
figuring a way to,
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm going to use the word disconnect from it.
Okay. All right. Um, Honestly, I'm not a fan of blocks of any kind, except maybe building blocks. I mean, those are kind of fun. Uh, and here's why. Um, I know, and this is no disrespect to anybody who teaches about, say blocking, and martial arts. It's a great thing, and what have you. But as far as blocking others' auras or energies or thoughts or like that kind of thing, uh, what a block does is something comes my way, right, and it pings off the block, and then what happens? It's sent back out there and it stays in circulation. It's like, ay, 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 no, I don't want that. So that's why I'm not a big fan of blocks. I mean, sometimes you have to shield yourself that way. I mean, on a physical basis,
Mm-hmm.
if needed. But energetically speaking, I'm not a big fan of blocks. What I would rather have you imagine, and this is something I'm just going to gift everybody right now, is a thing that I learned a long time ago, and you know about it. I call it shields up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I imagine shields up, I imagine this beautiful, beautiful, shiny, luminescent egg all around me, and it has a bit of a density to it. So the shell of the egg, it's all sparkly and twinkly and lovely. And so it's just surrounding me, shields up. And so something that's coming my way that's not mine simply comes into that field, that shield, and is returned to source. It's immediately transformed, immediately transmuted, immediately transformed back to source or God or energy or light, whatever you want to call it. And what that does, then it takes it out of circulation and creates, uh, light, more love. I mean, isn't that what we want more of?
Yes, and that's nice.
So rather than blocking, that's what I do. If I need extra, and you always know when you need that extra protection, just a little extra something,
Right.
because we very intuitive people, we have this proclivity to use other things. All of us humans do. We can use alcohol, drugs, we can use all kinds of things to create a nice little buffer zone between us and the world. And hey, cheers. I totally understand that. But on if you want to be um, a person, an intuitive that wants to make a contribution to the world, but you also need the protection so that not everything is coming at you and getting in there. That's the big part, is getting in there and landing in your aura. Then I would highly recommend that shields up. And it's just, again, just a beautiful luminescent egg. It'll go down on its own accord. And I'll tell you what, it that's one of the things that has saved me over and over and over again, that shields up model.
I like that. Thanks for sharing that. And it's good too,
Welcome.
because you're not just leaving all of this energy everywhere. When you like go around and clean
Yeah.
the house, or you move into a house and you've got to clean the old energy out, you're cleaning that old energy that somebody just like tossed off
Oh yeah.
from the room. So speaking of cleaning energy, this is a good segue for, we're all sponges and we're all absorbing everything, even in the house, while we're
We
quarantined,
can do, yes.
you know,
Especially
remotely.
the empaths, like I
Yep.
say. Yeah.
The news, when we go to
Oh yeah.
the grocery store, the people
Yeah.
who are still working, we pick it up at work, pick up energy from our loved ones. Okay, so what do we do to cleanse all of these things out of our aura and relieve, some of that excess stuff that we've taken on that isn't ours?
Wow, that's a great question. And I have a lot of things. I have like a whole basket load that this high, of things that I do. I mean, everything from, I'm a dancer. I just love to dance. I've danced since I was born, apparently. And so sometimes I'll just put on some groovy music or evocative music or whatever and just fly around. But on a practical level, though, you may not have time or the energy to dance. So I would say keep it simple. And if you're feeling just really heavy, if like it's like, oh, bleh, I just came from the Safeway and everybody was grouchy and miserable and fear laden and whatever. Um, you can do something really, really simple. You can stand and put your hands in front of you and just kind of wave them to the side like this and say, clean and clean and clear, with the thought that what you are cleaning and clearing is all over your field. And again, where is that stuff going to go? So it's clean and clear. I give back to source that which is not mine. So you don't keep it in circulation. You're just cleaning and clearing, and let the angels take it, let spirit take it. Because again, we don't need to keep it in circulation. Sometimes I think those of us who are empathic and are absorbing like a sponge, as you said, it's not just to torture us. By the way, it might seem like that. It might seem like, oh, what? Oh, why do I pick everything up like a sponge? I get asked that so much. Anyway, but it's not just to torture us. It is so that we have an awareness of what's going on.
Yeah.
And by the way, there are things you can do. There are things that you can do. Another thing that you can do is, because remember, and I think this is one of the most important things for us to remember, and again, especially intuitive people, is we're not just receivers, we're broadcasters. We're broadcasters as well. So on a very regular basis, every day, for me now, I've decided since this whole lockdown, quarantine, craziness, etc., that twice a day I do what I call beaming, and it's not beam, but it's beaming or
Nice.
beaming.
Energy.
I tune into my heart. I might light a candle, create a sacred space, and I just beam out compassion to whoever needs it. I beam out love, unconditional love. I beam out understanding. I beam out calm, because there's a lot of calming that could happen in the world. And I'm not beaming out anything to block people from expressing themselves. Absolutely not. And in fact, I think that us beaming from our heart centers is from the place that is the most open to all forms of expression. No judgments about it. So I tune into my heart center, or what's called the heart chakra, and I beam out. Again, love, compassion, unconditional love, stuff like that. That is so readily absorbed into the field, into the mass consciousness. And do I think it makes a difference? Heck yeah. Yes, I do. And frankly, if more of us would do that just on a semi-regular basis, I think that we will come through all of this and with some phenomenal results. I mean, who's to say? We might be creating a new world, and it's not necessarily the dystopia that a lot of us are worried about. We have a lot of work to do, mind you. But, let's contribute with, we are big-hearted people. I think the people who are listening and watching your show, I know they're not listening and watching this show because they're really, very judgmental and like, you're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. And if you are, oh, poor thing. But no, they're heart people. Heart people are listening to you and tuning into the show, because they want the uplift. They want, they want something else to do and something else to hear other than, well, everything else that you hear on the internet or on the news. So anyway, so remember that we're broadcasters too. It's a phenomenal tool. So use it.
Thank you for sharing that. I hope everybody starts
You're
it
welcome.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Start right away.
Turn on those rays of light. So protection, self-care. So how about self-care right now during this really difficult time? What's
Yeah.
your recommendations for taking care of ourselves in our auric fields?
Well, one thing I also know about empathic people, and especially healer types like you and and others who want to be an expression of love, want to be an expression of healing, is that there's more of a tendency to be scanning the horizon for people to fix, for situations to fix, or if you're a mom or a parent or a loved one, or me, in my case, I am the spousal unit, the wife of a wonderful man, but who needs some care. He is literally on hospice care right now. He's not in the process near the end, but he's in that process. And so there's care involved. And I've been caregiving for a long time, and I've been a parent, and I have lots of clients, and I have lots of friends right now who I think I was texting you last night, and I had 4 people texting me almost all at the same time in deep doo-doo crisis.
It was a rough day yesterday. There was lots of
It
anger.
was crazy. I don't know what in the world, the stars and the moon and everybody was going on, but something was going on. Well, anyway, but so even more so, self-care is absolutely necessary. So I have, finally learned for myself that there are certain requirements for me to stay centered. And they're mine. They're not everybody's, I need to move every day. I need to have movement and fun movement. So I dance, or I love my walks. I'm a very, very lucky gal that I have a wonderful neighborhood, and I live near a forest land, and that's very, very cleansing for me. If I don't move in some way every day, I'm miserable. Also, I am not going to advocate any particular diet, but I think that all empathic people are aware of when they are eating things that just really kind of, tilt them to the side, or, kind of ping on their hormones or their endorphins and slam them down or whatever, so you know what you need to do, and you also know that you need a treat once in a while. And so go ahead, bake those gluten-free chocolate chip cookies, because that's what I do for my friends. Or whatever, whatever it is. I'm not, I think part of self-care for me too is that if I have that glass of wine, I really, really enjoy it. And I don't, I try not to beat myself up about anything right now. And the other part of self-care, energy self-care, is to do what I just showed you a few minutes ago, and that is to clean and clear your aura every day. I think people are getting a little tired of hearing me say this, but because I say it all the time, clear your aura every day. Mm-hmm. It's like my number one piece of advice. And they go, well, how do I do that? Well, just make it simple. Just clean and clear, or light a candle, take a little candle bath, or do whatever you need to do, if it's a bath or but the simpler it is, the more you're going to do it. And so clean your aura every day. Oh, and one more, I really do recommend meditating of some kind. And it doesn't have to be, the 14 breath tantric, it doesn't have to be anything really complicated. Again, I think the simpler, the better. It could be that you just have some nice, quiet music playing, you close your eyes, and you just kind of go with the flow, or you follow your breath. Or if you have a mantra, that's fabulous too. Or, there are any numbers of lovely guided meditations too. But again, I would keep it as simple as possible. Just gift yourself 10 minutes. That's all. That's all you need, really,
Hmm.
is 10 minutes of tuning in. So that's what I say to the whole self-care kind of thing.
Awesome. So going back to the aura, because I think I want to spend a little bit more time there before I go into my next question. So
Uh-oh.
the aura, so explain to everybody what the aura tells us about ourselves.
Oh, that's a great question. A lot, a lot. So the aura is actually it's actually pretty complicated. It does have an anatomy to it. So it's not just a little outline around you. I got to put my glasses back on so I can see your aura, but not you. Um, isn't that strange? Anyway, so there are basically two main, I guess, domains or sections to the aura. There is your human aura, and your human aura contains uh, the energy of your thoughts and your emotions. So, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, physical sensations. Are you healthy or not? Are you off balance? Are you in balance? Are you calm? Are you angry? Are you hungry? Are you thrilled? Excited? All of that changes, but it's actually in your aura. I mean, and so years and years ago, I decided to do this thing. One of my services is a thing called aura portraits. I actually watercolor a painting of your aura. And at first I tried to fit everything in, and they were a mess, because that part of you, the human of you, changes all the time. That said, we also are a being, whatever you want to call that, a soul. But there, in the English language, we have the term human being. So who the heck is that? Well, that one, I would say, is your capital S self, your true self, also has an aura. And yes, it does change, but a lot more gradually, I think, as we evolve in life. And the contents of that aura talks to me, anyway, about your purpose, um, how you are in the world, how you are interfacing with the world. Are you interfacing with the world as a healer, or as a teacher, or as a communicator, or dot, dot, dot? And so that aura has the content of you as a soul who has made the choice to come to this crazy little planet with the rest of us. Thank you. And how that is going. How is that going for you? So that's what your aura tells me, anyway. And actually, I think all of us are picking up cues from the aura. I know that you probably have gone into a room, like at a party or something, a gathering. And sometimes you go into this room and it's like, oh, I feel at home here. These are my people. Or, maybe you go into another room and it's like, wait, I gotta go now. Because you just feel this. So you're picking up on auras all the time, and that's what the content is. So one more thing about what auras tell me, and that is groupings of auras also creates an aura.
Oh, interesting.
So say again.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I teach classes. I used to teach classes in person, you know, and I will again. But anyway, it's lovely when I have a circle of people and that field is created by the circle because there's a similar intent. But also lovely is if I'm going to a very cool concert outdoors, you know, and everybody is with the energy and it's uplifting, and that creates a field as well. That creates its own aura. But so does a riot, and so does, you know, the angry person that I heard about in the grocery store not too far from here who got into a fist fight.
Wow.
That added to the energy. And not such a great way, but it does. It all adds to the group energy or the mass energy on the planet.
Wow, that's wonderful. So when we're doing these meditations for peace and we're
Oh
all
yeah.
around the world meditating and all
Yes.
of our lights are shooting up off of the planet, they're all emerging
Oh
around
yeah.
the field.
And I
Beautiful.
I know that they are effective. They absolutely are effective. There's no doubt in my mind. And why should I doubt that? Because why would we even bother? So I think anything that, you know, somebody says, "Hey," to their friends, "Let's at 4:44 in the afternoon meet on the cosmic highway and you know, beam out compassion." I have a little medicine group, just some pals, and are right around sometime between 3:33 and 4:44 because we like those numbers and
Mhm. Love
they're
those
fun,
numbers.
angel numbers and all that. Anyway, we just tune in, you know, and we might be busy and we might be running errands or whatever, but we just kind of like send out a little thought, and sometimes we post, you know, on our phones pictures or oracle card or some kind of saying or something like that. But I'll tell you what, it's really kept me grounded, and I know that there are at least 5 other people out there who are putting a positive intention into the field. But the more of us, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
I love that, Elke. Also, right now, we're also looking within. We're asking ourselves big questions right now about
Big questions.
who we are, who
Yeah.
do we want to be in the world, what do we want our world to be now?
There's a
Because
lot of reconfiguring going on.
a lot of opportunity to change
Oh yeah.
the world and move forward in a new way.
Yeah.
So to do that, we need to look at ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, and we talked about this before the show. So when I was in school, I did a 4-year program and we discussed the shadow self, the negative belief systems.
Yeah.
And it's, grown and grown since the year 2000 to now, and the conversation. So when we're looking at these belief systems, structures that we've picked up, maybe programmed from 0 to 7 in, we're looking at these structures. We are trying to heal them. We're trying to turn them into a new thing. And we're trying to reincorporate them back into ourselves to be able to live from that space. And even Bruce Lipton is popping into my head right now,
Oh
epigenetics,
yeah.
how you can change your genes. So I'm
Yeah.
really looking at the belief
Absolutely.
that way, where we could take that negative belief system and transform it, reprogram it, and then put it back within ourselves instead of what I think is happening, and help me out with this energetically, that we look at these negative belief systems, we sit them outside of ourselves,
Yeah.
and we try to live life ignoring them. But what really needs to happen is to heal them. Well, first be aware of it, then heal it, change it, and then reincorporate the changed belief system
So
into.
are you answering your own question right now, or
No, I want to know energetically, like,
that was very good.
I love this topic. What does this look like energetically and in our aura? And how can we go about doing that in a healthy way?
Oh, wow. Well, how much time do you have?
We
Oh,
got time.
no, seriously. I mean, I actually am serious about that. This is
Yeah, topic.
this is huge because we are multidimensional beings, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's what we are. We're not just physical humans thrashing around down here. We're multidimensional beings. There's so much going on, so many different levels. That said, I do have a model that I learned a very, very, very long time ago. I'd say at least 40 years ago from a wonderful, wonderful ally and best friend of mine. And he was a master at coming up with all kinds of ideas and perspectives. And this perspective has helped me time and time and time again to do everything from explore my shadow, explore and be compassionate towards, you know, those crazy and cranky parts of me, but it also has helped me to discern what beliefs do I want to believe. I mean, keep what is valid for me and what simply doesn't fit or doesn't fit anymore. And so just to kind of cut it into just
Sure.
you know, just cut to the chase of it. If you can look at life as a box, our reality, how we perceive reality, the box of life, or maybe it's a triangle or pyramid, I don't care. It could be a sphere. But anyway, so in this box are two domains. My hands are the two domains. So this domain, we are born and we're experiencing things right away, right? We were born, wah, you know, bright lights and people talking at me and what the heck and what's that wet stuff down there and you know, anyway, we're having experiences. We're also having, though, by the way, energetic experiences, you know, so maybe we're feeling the love vibration from our parents, maybe not, you know, so all these experiences. And they start to accrue, if you will, they start to build up and they feed this other domain over here that I call concepts. So we start to build concepts out of these experiences. Another word could be beliefs, as you were saying, you know, from 0 to 7. Yeah, we pile them on, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then the beliefs, you know, are supported by our experiences. And around and around and around we go.
Mm-hmm.
We have an experience which supports our concepts, which is bolstered by, you know, more experiences or experiences like that experience or whatever. So let's see. So many years ago, I was driving down a local road in Seattle where I used to live, and it was a road that I didn't know very well, but I'm just tooling down the road, and I noticed, whoa, next to me, there's a cop, there's a policeman, you know, kind of paralleling me down the road. No big deal. People, it happens all the time, right? But no, it was a policeman. So I'm thinking right away, wait a minute, policeman. Hi, you know, oh shoot, what's the speed limit here? Oh, did I go through the stop sign back there? Or am I in trouble? Right? Because that's what, you know, I had a belief that if a policeman was paying attention to me, it must mean something, and it must mean trouble, and I'm in it somehow. So, you know, I'm sweating a little bit, and we both stop at the same time at a red light, and I just kind of, you know, glance over at him, and now he's making a motion with his hand. He's doing this. I'm like, what does that mean? Oh, roll down my window. So I pressed the button, rolled down the window. He rolled down his window and he said to me, I love your bumper sticker.
That's awesome.
And I'm, oh, hey, thank you so much. Roll up window, roll up window. Oh, and he said, green light. And I said, oh, okay, bye. Yeah. I made this big kerfuffle out of my experiences or other people's experiences that cop paying attention to me means something, right? I mean, and this happens all the time, but it's the way we learn. We learn through our experiences. I'm not saying anything against experiences. I'm just saying that those experiences are powerful. They do get in there, and then we build our belief systems based on them.
Yeah.
However, what if we're having a brand new experience and there's no experiences backing it up? We're or our beliefs are not working anymore, or something challenges my belief about policemen, say. What do we do? What do we do now? It's like, so there is another domain, and it's outside of the box. So if this box contains our experiences and our concepts or our beliefs, outside of the box, around here somewhere, is what I call the observer, or the domain of awareness, or some people call it the witness. And I'll tell you what, I don't know about your observer, but my observer is rocking it, because she, if she's a she, my observer doesn't have any judgments, isn't trying to get on my case about, like, did you see that? Did you see the way you behaved? Just observes, is my witness, and wants what's in my highest and best interest all the time, all the time, all the time. So stepping into awareness with, say, a new experience, or if we want to get the correct answer for us about something, I step into my awareness and ask from there, because my aware observer, again, always wants what's best for Elke, always. And so will gently and usually quietly, not with a big loud voice and neon signs, say, you should do this. No, it's just, you might want to consider this path, or what have you, or I just get a feeling, or I get a connection with the way I ought to go, because it just feels correct for me. That observer, very recently, I think saved my life, because of the and this is, I wasn't even going to go here, but I'm going here now. Because I think it's important for us to realize that we also have the human to attend to. Yes, we're spiritual beings, but the human does have the shadows and the light and the emotions and the beliefs and, etc., etc. So the human also can be very sensitive, like yours truly, and does pick up on the ambient energy. And mind you, it's been a kind of a challenging yearish or so, with a husband who has had some physical situations that I needed to attend to, and almost dying a few times, and the stresses of trying to find a new home, and all, just life. So I thought that the feelings I was having was because my husband was ailing, and I was pre-grieving, maybe missing him already, and he's still in life, but I was just sad, and just, I couldn't figure it out. Then the shutdown came, in the quarantine. And I was feeling the anxiety and the sadness. I mean, rightfully so. It's a very tough situation. Um, and for me, I was missing a lot. Like my heart was just breaking. I know several business owners who are not going to be business owners anymore. I know several people who've gotten sick. I know all kinds of things that are very, very sad to me. All the things that bring us joy, is the way I've been seeing it, is gone. So I was spiraling down, to be very, very honest with you. And yes, I was still using my tools, thank goodness. And yes, and was seeing clients or seeing them on the phone, or doing what I can to stay lifted and keep other people lifted. But honestly, something happened, and I went down to a very, very, very dark place. It wasn't a shadow, it was utter blackness. And that is not me. I don't tend that way. And so it was shocking. It was shocking how, and I have life good, relatively speaking. I'm in a lovely home. I have loving people all around me. But I didn't even care about them at all. I didn't care that if I were to do something to myself, like take myself out of this planet, that they would miss me and be very upset. Nah. And again, that wasn't like me at all. So I got to think now in retrospect that something opportunistic got in here. I'm a shaman, and I do see that. I do see that there are opportunistic energies, shadowy energies, darker, or forgetful energies. I like to call them forgetful because they just forgot that they're spirit too. But anyway, whatever this was, it got in there. There must have been some little opening, and I was not myself. And so a little over a few weeks ago, I told my husband one evening, you know what? If the world continues in this vein, I want out. And I don't think he even got the the power behind the words. And I meant out. Like, I think I'm going to take a hike tomorrow up to a nice high viewpoint and keep flying. It was just, what? So the next day came, and I woke up and I thought, shoot, I'm still alive. Darn it. And meanwhile, my observer, my wonderful witness, was still witnessing. She was there, just gently, like, okay. Meanwhile, I really didn't hear any voices from spirit or my totems or angels or anything like that, because I have a very, very vivid connection with guides and so forth. But no, they were all quiet. But the observer was still observing. And my higher self, who I truly am, somehow infiltrated into that darkness, and I found myself texting a friend of mine saying, hey, I want your animal totems and your dog, well, maybe you too, in that order, to come for a walk with me in the forest, because I knew, my observer knew, that if I were to go alone, I might be tempted to do something. And so she came along, and we ended up doing a very spontaneous ceremony in the woods, and it cleared my aura. And I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it was actually kind of silly and funny, and involved an Indian flute that she brought along that I didn't know she brought along, and it involved taking a branch from a tree that was the silliest looking branch and sweeping my aura. I mean, it was very spontaneous and innocent and sweet and funny. And the next thing I knew, I felt a boulder drop from my back and something fly off. And I don't really care how crazy this sounds to people, but something opportunistic went away, and I haven't been the same since. What I have been is myself. No matter how this happened, though, and this is a permanent transformation. I'm absolutely sure of it.
Mhm.
But no matter how it happened, the the one thing that if you get nothing out of this interview but this very following thing, yeah, it is that you have your own witness, you have your own observer, and again, that self, the capital S self, always wants what's highest and best for you. That said, you do have to listen. You do have to pay attention. You do have to know that she or he or it is there, yet you also need to make that connection and allow that voice to come through, because it's not necessarily the loudest voice. And so that model of our concept and experiences, but then also the awareness and the observer, again, that's kind of like the baseline for doing life and staying here in a healthy way, at least for me. I
Yeah.
hope that was helpful, that big story. But
Thank you so much for sharing that story. That's a beautiful story.
welcome.
I'm so glad that you listened to that little voice, and it sounds like a beautiful, powerful ceremony that you and your friend had.
Yeah,
It
it
was really
was.
clearing. Thank you for
It
sharing
was.
that.
You're welcome.
Before we go, is there anything that you would like to share, to end with, to wrap up, that you think is important for people to know right now about themselves or the aura, or right now?
Yeah, just to reiterate that the ambient energy, it's pretty intense. All right. So realize that. Take really extra special care of yourself, and take that time to be quiet and listen, because if we're coming from that baseline of all the woo, there's a lot happening. So be kind. Be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Practice kindness. And that will be, what is received into the world. Once again, reminding you and myself and you, Liz, that we are broadcasters as well as, intake and receivers. So broadcast kindness. Know that this is going to be tough for quite some time. I'm quite sure of it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
also, after that ceremony, by the way, I knew, and I know now, that we also have an opportunity to build and rebuild a new reality that, again, is a reality based on well-being for all. And so it's going to take a lot of work, but it's also going to take a lot of self-care and kindness and coming from our hearts. So I hope you all do. Bless you all. Bless you, Liz.
Awesome. Thank you, Elke. And bless you. That was great. And how can everyone reach you? How about sharing your website and how they can reach
Oh,
you?
yeah, I should have written it down or something like that, but it's pretty easy. My name is spelled Elke, even though you're pronouncing it correctly, Elke. So it's elkespage.com. And it's got all my stuff on it,
Great.
including auras and aura portraits. Oh, by the way, I didn't even show you that this is an aura portrait that I just drew of a young teenager. So you too can have something fun like that. And
Yeah.
I'll see you in the internet.
Yes, call Elke, go on her website, schedule a reading. She also has a book, which you can find on your website.
Yeah.
Yes, Downloading a Friendly Universe. So check that out, and hopefully you'll have one out soon, and you can come back
Oh yeah,
and talk to
I'm
me.
working on it.
on
I'm
the
working on
show.
it.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me today, Elke. It's been awesome.
Thank
I
you.
love you.
Love you too, dear. Namaste.
And thank you everyone
Bye
for
now.
joining me today on Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.